What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it's the first video back into the new year and after all the holidays. So I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I know I've been slacking on the YouTube content the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, just dealing with all the holidays, some personal stuff, and also getting sick. So you might still hear that in my voice a little bit today. But since it's a new year, it's finally time to get back to work in the garage here. And I thought, since it's new year, why not start the new year off right with a brand new project on the channel. So if you guys have been with me for a little bit, or at least seen a couple of my previous videos, you guys might know my $100 mini bike project here, which is actually an Access M200. I picked up for $100 on Facebook Marketplace with the 212 already swapped into it. And then we ended up doing a couple upgrades to it, like some gearing changes, a intake snorkel up into the tank here, and then a long exhaust on it. And other than that, this thing has been probably my most reliable toy of them all, and hasn't really given me any problems. It's been the best toy. I can just kind of throw anyone on and not have any issues with it. And it's been a good little ripper. It's definitely been a frame I've been growing on a ton, especially since it's got the front suspension, seat suspension, and the big wheels and tires. Definitely helps. It's a good little street ripper and also good for any little trails that you end up taking it on. So been looking around trying to find another one of these or something similar to that, and I ended up actually coming across a identical frame to my other carbon bike over here. So now I have 2 of these things, and I ended up actually picking this thing up in a trade. So I bought a Motovox mini bike frame with a 6.5 horsepower swapped into it. I think I paid like 120 bucks for it on Facebook Marketplace. Been sitting in the corner, and I drove it around a few times, and then saw this come up on Facebook, threw it up as a trade, and dude said yes. So I was like, sweet, I'll come pick it up. And we ended up doing the trade. So the story behind this thing is, dude had the 196 in it, ended up pulling the governor out and popping the motor after a good bit of time. So he ended up just pulling the motor out, leaving it as a bare frame and selling it like this, and which is where I came in and picked this thing up. This thing's actually super clean. It's really not missing anything but the upper lid for the storage cover, which kind of sucks, especially since I do my intakes up into the storage box, which we'll probably do on this one as well. But other than that, this thing is super clean. It's pretty much a lot nicer than this one, especially since this one got the spray painted forks on the front and all that. But I did notice it already has a 35 tooth rear sprocket swapped onto it, so this thing should get some good high-end speed. Tires look real good on it, so they should last a good minute, especially since that one's basically bald on the back of that. But other than that, I basically just want to build this bike to almost be identical to this bike, so we can kind of have 2 little rippers that are almost identical, but still have their own little differences to them and probably their own little character. So to kind of keep it similar, I do have a 212 Hemi that was been sitting on the shelf. I'm going to start off by swapping in here, and then I got a couple other parts to actually get it all together, like a clutch, exhaust. I do need to print up an intake, but I got an air filter in there. Got a brand new carb, got some headlight stuff, which I might hook up, or I might just rewire in a new LED or something. But the goal in today's video is to get this thing a complete running and driving machine again, and actually test it out, rip it around a few times, and see what the top speed is with this new sprocket. And then over time, we can start doing some of the other upgrades, like the other bike, like the intake and exhaust. I do want to do the intake today, since I don't want to really put a stock intake on that, tune it all up with that. So I'm going to see if I can 3D print that up in the meantime while I'm actually getting this thing all together. But this thing should go pretty quick, especially since this dude basically left all the hardware for this thing to go back right in. I got a thumb throttle already on it. I just got to find a cable, and then just a couple little things like a chain and like a kill switch, which really isn't too much. I could pretty much knock this thing out tonight, and then hopefully tomorrow we can get this thing tuned up and actually ripping down the road. So that's the goal. I think I did enough talking for this intro, so I think I'm going to start off by actually getting the motor swapped up into this frame, getting it bolted up in there, and then start tying up a couple things like the chain or the throttle, or even getting the clutch bolted on there. Just starting to get this thing put together, and then we can start working away on some of the small little nitty-gritty stuff and getting this thing dialed in, and hopefully have 2 identical little rippers here, and it'd be perfect for the trails. So let's get to work, and I think I'm gonna set you guys on a time lapse. Let's get this thing all knocked out. So I've been working away on this thing for the last hour or two, getting a lot of this knocked out. I'm basically 95% done and almost ready to rip this thing. I am just waiting on one piece, which is gonna take a few hours and which will actually probably be finished up tomorrow. So don't expect us to be driving today, but tomorrow for sure we will be ripping this thing around. But tonight I want to finish up a few little things that are still need to get fixed up on this thing. But you guys saw, we got the motor installed. I installed the muffler, new carburetor, and even a new gold spark plug just to kind of refresh this thing. We got a used clutch on it with a chain all hooked up to it. I kind of just pieced two chains together in the meantime because I already know I'm going to end up changing this rear sprocket in the back because I know 35 tooth is going to make this thing way too fast. So put a little bit bigger sprocket on there, get a little bit more low end, and still keep some of the high end mile per hour that we want. And I'm a little unsure on the condition on that clutch, so we will see on that. I did notice that this muffler actually shoots straight at the fender, so I'm gonna see if I look around. I think in that box over there, I have one of these mufflers that has a little 90-degree outside of the bike, so that'll kind of save me melting any paint or the fender and all that. But I ended up hooking up the new thumb throttle, kill switch, and even a tachometer. I'm not sure if I talked about that in the beginning, but I like to run a tachometer on most of the toys around here. Just keep an eye on the RPMs and also the hours on the oil change. I do want to do an oil change on this thing as well, as long as I got some oil hiding up over there, but we'll see. Other than that, there's just a few little things I want to knock out. Like I noticed the rear fender is actually on backwards, so I want to get that flopped around because it is super close to the back of the engine right there. And then the brake cable as well, you can kind of see it's like hanging on the outside of the frame. And then coming up over here, it's actually interfering with the steering there. So I don't want to have any issues with that, like pinching the brake cable. So I'm going to realign that, get that zip tied up out of the way, and just kind of make sure this thing's all good. And I think I might also work on the intake setup, like the snorkel over here. So this is the little piece I am waiting on to get 3D printed. So it takes like 6 or 7 hours, something like that. So we'll get that all printed up. It's actually printed up right now. So I could probably start doing this pipe start up, going up to the tank here. So it's just like a hole in the bottom of the tank. And you can kind of see the filter hiding right up there. I am a little worried about doing the snorkel on this bike here, especially it has no lid. And you can see I just got a filter marked up in there. This thing would just be straight exposed to any rain if I drove it just like this. So I'm gonna see if I can try to find a lid or something to kind of cover that up in the meantime, but it should work for right now, and it'll at least kind of make it almost identical to the other bike there. So I'm gonna probably start knocking out all that little stuff tonight, and then probably catch up to you guys tomorrow once I actually have the last intake piece to get it all finished up, and we should be able to actually rip this thing. I'm pretty excited to actually see how fast this thing will go. I don't need a 60, 70 mile per hour machine, but it's fun to rip once or twice, and then eventually I'll order up a new sprocket, chain, and probably a clutch for it just to refresh everything on it, and she should be good to go. So I'm gonna get to work, finishing up all the small little nitty-gritty stuff, and I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow once we're ready to actually take this thing out and rip around and see how she feels. It's the next day, and I've been working away on this thing. Basically got this thing all finished up and ready for its first test drive. So I got the little 3D printed adapter all finished up on the printer and mounted up on here. I do need to get a little bit longer hose for the valve cover, so I'm kind of just like stretching it for right now, but it works. But I got the little tube mounted up all the way up into the storage tank, blew a hole right in the bottom of that and ran it all the way up. So the adapter kind of lets me adapt it to this little plastic pipe, and I wrap it up in some Tessa tape just to make it look a lot better. It kind of gives that cloth look instead of like electrical tape. And then I also got the air filter all the way tucked up in there. So it's basically like all the way up in this corner and mounted up in there. So hopefully if you get caught in any rain or sprinkle or anything, it really won't be right at the filter. And I might even look into getting one of those waterproof kind of net things for this filter just in case, or even just find a lid for it just to actually finish this thing up completely. Threw a little sticker on there as well. I did pull off the headlight because that thing was starting to vibrate itself off once I actually got this thing running. I did get it tuned up and all. I do need to at least maybe fine tune it a little bit more once we actually get it under some load. But I can tell just off blipping the throttle a few times, tuning it, this thing does not want to move at all, especially with this whole 35 tooth gearing that we have on it. And I honestly have no clue on this clutch if it's good or bad. It could just be smoked. So I guess we'll see and actually take this thing out for its first test drive. So probably gonna slap you guys up on the head cam or the chest cam. We'll see which one actually looks better because I'm trying to try both of those out and take this thing for a rip, and hopefully we can get some good rips on it. And if anything, I can change out another clutch I might have hiding around here if we need it, or maybe even think about changing the gearing on the back, but I don't really want to get that far today, but we'll see. So that's enough talking. Let's finally take this thing for a rip and see how it does, at least compared to the other bike that I have over there that does about 40, 45 miles per hour. All right, so I got it pulled outside, let her warm up for a couple minutes, and I also got the other carbon bike pulled out just because I might take that thing for a rip to kind of compare the two, at least speed-wise, if this thing doesn't give me any issues. But this is the first test rip, so we'll see. And just flipping the throttle, you can see it barely wants to move. So I guess we'll see how this goes. Okay, not too bad. It's a little shitty though. I am pegged out. Slowly gaining speed. Okay, alright, not bad. Guess we'll do a little rip around the block. Well, she holds her own. Definitely slipping the clutch a ton. Huh. Guess we'll see. Make sure no one's coming. Oh, it's just straight slipping. Let's see if we can get a little bit of speed. Alright, we're finally out of this slip. Sorta. I'm pegged out. Alright, there we go, there we go. Okay. Brakes are good on this thing. Oh yeah, they'll lock up the rear, no problem. Hell yeah. A little too much clutch slip for me though. I really don't like it. I think I want to do a bigger gear in the back, really, I might. Oh, there's a school down there. The intake sounds good, at least with the fucking top open, and you get all the intake noise you want. Definitely feels like I might need a little bit of tuning too, but hey, she picks up and goes now. Not bad, huh? Guess we'll see. Clutch seems like it's fine. I don't know. Let's see. There's a lot of dust flying off this thing. Oh, and she's sparking. Huh. That clutch is sparking. It could just be the rust flying off, but I really don't know. Honestly, I might just steal the clutch off that thing real quick and try it out, but I really don't want to mess that clutch up. Alright, I'm gonna sit here and think about this for a second, or maybe see if I have another clutch around here. Sitting here contemplating what I should do with the clutch on that mini bike over there, and I was just kind of digging through my whole assortment of clutches here over the years of kind of just building a bunch of toys, and a lot of them are 5/8 or are the 32 chain sprocket. And crazy enough, this is the only clutch that would actually work on it. Out of all these, this is probably the most rusty one, but surprisingly, looking inside it, you might not be able to see, but the clutches in there actually look pretty smooth and not super rusty, and also the inside of the drum there. So I'm actually gonna see if I can swap this on real quick and see maybe if the clutch is the main problem with this thing actually not getting any speed or pickup. I already know it is probably because of the small sprocket on the back, but I guess we'll see real quick while I have a couple parts lying around, and then if anything in the future I might just order up the same sprocket I have on this thing, which is the 60 tooth, and actually give it some more low end and still keep some of the high end mile per hour, like 40 to 50 area. Alrighty boys, so I pulled off the old clutch and that thing feels like it's on fire. Like literally for like the 2 or 3 minutes I actually drove this thing, it really shouldn't be that hot. I know clutches get hot, but that thing's a little too hot for what I would think, and probably slipping a ton. So I got the old rusty one bolted on there for now. So we'll see if this one will actually hold up a little bit better, but kind of got low expectations for it. But you never know, and if it's free, it's for me. Oh wow, she don't even like the choke. Hell yeah. Don't you die, bitch. Okay. I might need to turn the idle up a little bit. But I guess let's take it for a rip and see what happens. Hopefully, I'm gonna have to blow some of that rust off that clutch a little bit. Oh, it already is picking up so much. Like it's breaking up because it's actually getting some load on it now. Oh, so much better. Oh, look at that. Actually goes. Oh, this thing's gonna rip now. Okay. Breaking up a little bit the high end. Okay. So we might have to tune her up a little bit. For being rusty though, I'm surprised that clutch is even working. Oh, that's hilarious. I do want to whip around though, do like a little top speed run, because I'm at least curious on what the top speed is on this thing. Stay alive, baby. I know it's cold out. Let's see, there it is. Let's reset this. No, I don't care. There we go, you guys see 0. Put that in my pocket. Up a little bit, but there she goes. Oh, it's cold. I'm letting off there. I'm not seeing it go over 2,600 RPM, so I think that's all we're getting out of her right now. Good though, the back tire is definitely flat. I can feel it just bouncing around, but I need to get a little bit more fuel in that thing, especially with this intake and it being so cold out right now. She's not bad. I guess we can see what the top speed is. Okay, get pulled up in here. 34, okay. I'm surprised. It's definitely breaking up a ton at the high end, so I think I'm gonna have to put a little bit more fuel in it, and hopefully the sun doesn't go down too quick. But I guess we'll see what happens, because you never know. This thing should go a lot faster with this small sprocket on there. It's just really lugging out the motor because it's got a lot of load on it right now. But I guess I'll mess around with it and see what we can do to it. All right, so I've been working away trying to get the mini bike all tuned up and actually ripping 100%, but I really don't want to bore you guys with a bunch of videos of me ripping up and down the street, adjusting a little bit and trying again. I've been trying with this thing for a good bit, and she just seems like she needs a bigger jet in it. At the end of the day, I got the fuel air ratio screw on the side of the carb screwed almost all the way in, and this thing is still breaking up right at the higher end. I was able to get to hit 2,800 RPM, but it really won't go past that, and it doesn't seem like it's hitting the governor because I don't really hear it, at least compared to all the other toys. You can really hear it smacking the governor, and I don't hear it in this one. I really just feel it breaking up a good bit, so I have to look around and see if I can find my jets all somewhere around here, and by the time I actually find that, get it all swapped in and probably tuned up 100%, it is going to be pitch black out. So I'm going to end up calling it here. At least I'm riding this thing for right now, and especially it's getting a little chilly outside, so it is a little too cold to at least be ripping up and down the street in just a jacket and some pants and gloves. So I'm going to call it for right now, and I actually want to find a good jet for this thing once we actually get a exhaust and everything all set up on it. So that's kind of the plans for this thing in the future, is at least get a new exhaust for it, because this stock muffler is a little too quiet. I want a little bit more noise, but I don't want anything like this bike has here, like a full straight pipe. But I do like the style that's like this exhaust, if I could say that correctly. So I'm going to look into one of these that actually has one of the little screw-on mufflers on the end of it, so it can kind of quiet it down a little bit. And I also want to look into a new clutch and a 60-tooth rear sprocket, and of course a new chain to at least combine those both together. And then other than that, this thing just really needs a couple final touches, like actually fixing up the light, getting that all wired in. I need to pick up some grips for it as well, and just really paint up a few things, like paint up the side cover, pull start, maybe paint up the gas tank, get this thing all cleaned up and actually getting it looking identical to the other bike. So that's going to be the end of today's video. hope you guys enjoyed kind of me building another basically $100 mini bike that's identical to my other $100 mini bike. So we got 2 of these, and I want to know what you guys actually want to see in the future with this thing. I do want to do some kind of different things to it, like maybe a torque converter or something different like that, because this one is already straight chained with the clutch. So putting a torque converter on this one would be kind of cool, because you can kind of compare the two with having the same motor, same frame and all that. So we can kind of do something like that, but I want to know what you guys think. And I know everything kind of adds up over time, so I don't want to put a bunch of money into this thing if I don't have to. So if you guys want to see anything crazy, let me know. If anything, I want to at least get another boy or a friend to come over and maybe take the other toy out, and we can go trail riding or ripping it around, actually testing both of the toys out and seeing what we can get into. So we'll see how it comes up in the future, but do expect some more content on this thing to actually finish this thing up and get her looking pretty. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, hope you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and peace out.